keep in mind, I'm gonna try to play this as fair as I can. But a lot of people have been talking about this aspect here of there being no DNA, according to, I think it was is it Longston? I can never remember how to say his name, but I think it's Longston. He had composed it was a response to the state's, their writings about the DNA, and that the DNA was, what was it, 5.3 octillion? I think it was something like that. So what happened is they kind of fired back, and they said, well, like, his DNA wasn't found in the car, it wasn't found in the apartment, it wasn't found like anywhere. But I have something to say in response to that. And that is, while many of us were probably following other cases or doing other things, when we got that, it was the search warrant, the kind of the results of the search warrant, which, by the way, it was kind of locked up for 60 days. So we didn't know about it until about 60 days after it happened, which would have been, I think, almost into March, if I'm not mistaken. But what was taken from his home, and let me pull this up. A search warrant unsealed Thursday revealed another list of creepy items cops seized when they arrested alleged Idaho quadruple killer Bryan Kohberger in December, this time from his family home in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. The warrant revealed cops seized a Glock pistol, 3 empty magazines for the gun, as well as a Smith & Wesson pocket knife, a black mask, black gloves, and a black hat. Also seized from the home was a criminal psychology book, a green leafy substance in a container, an unidentified prescription, a cell phone, a laptop, power cables, clothes, personal notes, and paperwork, like his AT&T phone bill, and a bill of sale for the handgun. Cops also recovered a shovel, gloves, and goggles in Kohberger's 2015 white Hyundai Elantra. The December 30th search came on the same day Kohberger was arrested for allegedly stabbing 4 University of Idaho students in their off-campus home, November 13. Detectives are yet to identify what Kohberger's motive was for allegedly slaying Madison, Xana, and Kaylee. Earlier this week, authorities in Pennsylvania unsealed a separate search warrant which revealed the items seized off Kohberger himself: a DNA swab, medical gloves, a flashlight, and all of the dark clothing he was wearing when he was arrested in the middle of the night at his parents' home. Stacy Widelek, a spokesperson for the Pennsylvania court system, told the Daily Beast the warrants weren't released until this week because it's state's procedure to seal them for 60 days. A search warrant unsealed in Washington state in January listed items seized from Kohberger's campus apartment at Washington State University, including a black surgical glove, a vacuum cleaner bag, roughly a dozen strands of hair, both human and animal, receipts from Marshall's and Walmart, a sample collected from a dark red spot found inside cuttings from an uncased pillow with a reddish brown stain, which is another word they usually use for blood, and a mattress cover bearing multiple stains. Kohberger, who was a PhD student in criminology at WSU, located just a few miles away from the crime scene, was arrested in Pennsylvania after he drove across the country to spend Christmas break with his parents. I think that right now there's just so much overwhelming chatter that he's not the guy. But man, I feel like we're all going to be stunned when the state lays out their case. Human hair found? I mean, really? Whose human hair do you think that was? Let's just take a wild guess. Like that's kind of interesting, isn't it? But yet there's been no talk about it. There's literally been no talk about it. Yes, and goggles. Thank you, Angel. Thank you so much, Angel D. Yes, goggles were found. So guys, if it was potentially him that did this, I think it's very easy, actually. If as long as you know the process and you know what not to do, you can get by without any DNA transfer. Let me explain what I mean. If let's suppose that he did this, okay? He walked in there, he knew exactly where to go. My feeling is he probably had been in there before. It seems like he would have had to have known kind of the layout. At the very least, maybe studied a map. He might have gone in there with a change of clothes, either on him or with him, and a bag. He could have gone right to the victim's rooms. Think about it right now. Let's think real quick. Let's say you have 4 people that you cannot stand, okay? Let's say that you have the mind of a killer. Let's just, for example, you are against them, you want their lives to be ended. If they are sleeping, they are not an even match for you. You can walk in the dead of night. As long as you know kill points, you can get them all down pretty quick, I think. So for people saying that they can't imagine that one person could do this, and maybe it wasn't one person, but I'm saying I'm going about this from the perspective of it being one person as of right now. But one person could absolutely go in. They go into each of the rooms, right? This is Xana and Ethan together, and then Maddie and Kaylee together, I'm assuming. You get both rooms, out of the way. You quickly wash your hands, you change your clothes, you put on new shoes, you put your hoodie up, so anything that was on your hair is now not there's no touch with it in your car, right? There's no contact. And you book it, you get out of there. You've got your bag full of soiled clothes. You get to your house, or in his case, apartment, let's say. Take a shower. And guess what was not found in his apartment was his shower curtain. Now I can understand that a shower curtain can absolutely hold on to not only bacteria, but I can imagine be DNA for sure. So it makes so much sense that the shower curtain was gone. If he is in fact the killer, we'll go about it from that perspective. It makes a lot of sense why it would be gone. He could have easily then taken all his things, his soiled clothes, his shower curtain, put it in a bag. And then remember from there, he leaves, he goes back to allegedly back to the Moscow, the murder home at this point. And he sits, or he does whatever he does around 9:13 in the morning. Okay. So it's, sun is up, it's morning time. People are eating their breakfast. He was doing something out there for, I believe, about 10 to 12 minutes, something like that. And from there, he took off. But by the way, I should go back a little bit. Before he went to his apartment, his location was pinging that he was south of Moscow. So it's kind of really hard to imagine. Like, yes, could he maybe not be the guy? For sure. For sure, it's very possible. He could have been at Bobby's, Susie's, Jimmy's house, whatever. It's the fact that he hasn't given his alibi that I guess is kind of weird to me. I just feel like an innocent person is for sure going to be like, hey, I didn't do this. Every opportunity they can get, they're going to say it. But no alibi at all given. And the fact that his phone then pings south of Moscow, he then loops around, goes back to his apartment, does whatever he does for 3.5 hours or so. It's that whole time period that I'm just going, it just seems like it's quite possibly him. And then of course, hearing about the human hair and the dog hair that was found. I feel like these are going to be things that are going to come out. And especially if that human hair ends up being one of the victims, oh my, like it's done, in my opinion. Let me see, Angel D. People are trying to say he would have gone to see what was happening because he got one of the texts that all the friends allegedly got, but why would they message him? Good point, Angel. And that early at 9 in the morning, that's super early. Like nobody, I don't even think the housemates, well, they allegedly, they found out more I don't even know when they're allegedly saying they actually found out, because there's so much speculation to say that they found out pretty early in the day, which I've heard was at 10. But I don't think anybody would have known yet, to be honest with you. I don't think they knew yet. I don't think anybody knew yet. But yes, that's a great point you make, Angel. Absolutely. Is it dog hair? It is dog hair and it is human hair. So there are two different hair samples, dog hair, human hair. Yeah. Now, why this isn't a big deal, why this isn't a talking point on News Nation, I don't know. But that's a pretty serious thing to find in the possession of somebody who has these kind of, I guess, allegations against them, right? Hung up on this lack of DNA, but honestly, I'm shocked. I'm shocked that if it's him, that he even drove his car there and even left the sheath. I would have thought he could have gotten away with almost a perfect murder. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel that he studied the serial killers, especially while he studied with Ramsland. I think that was the focus of her class. So all these people hung up on the DNA. I'm not shocked that that there was no DNA transfer. If that's even true, we don't even know if that's true. The way I feel at this point is there is so much we don't know. And a lot of us, myself included, I'm not going to say it hasn't been me too, because it has. We're kind of getting caught up in the doubt. And which, of course, a good defense is going to bring that to the forefront. Well, look at this. Look at this. Oh, he's not, there is a lot we don't know. And there's so much that's going to come out. So I think it's almost foolish for us to, in any way, either way, make our decision up now on what we even think, because there's going to be a lot to come, in my opinion. And that sheath had no DNA, just the touch DNA, I guess. Yeah. Oh, excuse me. If that sheath had no DNA. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Summary. Thank you. Hit the like, everyone, if you can. That'd be awesome. Thank you. So recently it came out that, let me add this so you guys can see it. Hold on. Just a sec. Share screen. Okay. So the judge in Idaho murders case, good, you guys can see. Okay. The judge in Idaho murders case approves limited release of some grand jury material. The transcript of jury proceedings won't include juror deliberations, and some material is sealed from the public. A transcript and record of grand jury proceedings that led up to the indictment of Bryan Kohberger will be released to the defense and prosecution, as well as investigators and experts involved in the case. A Latah County District Court judge filed a court order Wednesday outlining the material to be prepared and released and to whom it may be provided. The indictment available on the public record is redacted, meaning some information, including the names of the people who served on the grand jury, was taken out of the document before it was released. Kohberger's defense plans to challenge the indictment and has been trying to obtain all information on the grand jury proceedings. The state has argued that at least some of the material should remain sealed. In a hearing in district court on Tuesday, the issue was not resolved, but the two sides reached an agreement out of court regarding the material. So what do you guys think is, hold on, top 7 guy? Why am I such a BK hater? Let me tell you, because I believe in the facts that we do know. And it's not about being a BK hater. It's not at all about that. So I don't know what you're talking about. Has nothing to do with being a hater. I don't want a person who came in to possibly 4 people's lives pretty much and ended them. Okay. I don't want a person like that ever seeing the light of day if it was him. And I'm scared, just like with Ted Bundy, the fanfare and all this, media circus and stuff will bring a certain effect to light, like a certain effect to him that makes him look like he's this innocent guy. And that is scary to me. That is scary. If he's the dude, we want him gone. We want him long gone, because can you imagine if it was your family member that this happened to? I'm sure you would think about it a little different. Top 7 guy. Would you not? I mean, there's enough here to say there's a case. For sure there's a case, but he has to have his day in court. There's just no doubt about it. Has to have his day. But yeah, comments like that, it's like, I'm a BK hater. Really? Well, are you a BK lover? Are you a BK lover? Come on, get out of here with that. Yeah, I know, Justice Jane. That's how I feel too. I think they absolutely have a great case. Yeah, they do. We don't even know just a little bit of it. We don't. I feel like we have 10% of it right now. That's it. They know the rest. And there's a gag order for a reason. And I know that there's all these like theories and speculation about the roommates. You know, is it possible? Just like when Ted Bundy hit that, was it Chi Omega? I think it was Chi Omega. That house. He didn't know those victims. He got out of there. He injured 2 and he killed 2. You know, it's very possible to end the lives of people you don't actually know very well. Like, so to prove the whole motivate or the connection here, I don't know that that's actually going to even be relevant, because if you have that hunger within you to do evil, you're going to do it. That's how I felt. Yes, Summer Rae, yes, we're all entitled to our opinion. So true. Summer Rae, you're funny. Oh, you're funny. Yeah. Well, that's Rita. That's how I feel at the moment, you know. Now, if let's say they get to trial and there really is nothing, they got nothing. I think we're all going to smell BS if that's the case. But right now, what little they do have, I think it's pretty real deal. It truly is. Lauren, exactly. 100%. Wait until we hear all the evidence. Yeah. Yeah. And either, you know, and that goes either way. That's how I feel. Like, he needs to stay in court. Yes, I have a feeling right now. We all have a feeling. But he needs to have that day, I guess. Right? Girl, preach. Yeah. I know. I can only imagine the comments I'm going to get on the replay. People are going to be bashing me so hard for getting after that guy. But it's just ridiculous. I mean, guys, the same thing happened with Ted Bundy. You know what I'd like to do? If anybody here can remember when Ted Bundy was in court, when he was representing himself, and the women, the cult following he had, if you can remember that, I would love, if you want to call in, I want to hear what you observed. Is there anybody in the comments today that would like to call in and talk about that with me for a few minutes? Because I, for some reason, feel like there is such a connection here between the cases. Like, I don't know if maybe BK had, I don't know, maybe a fixation with Bundy. I don't know. I can't say that this is all Bundy, though. What he did, it just has that, what's evolving right now in the story that we're observing is sort of this Ted Bundy effect, this cult following thing. And that's all I can say about it. It's like a cult following. I have gotten hundreds, if not almost thousands, of comments lately that say he was framed. He's innocent. Okay, it's how, where is this coming from? So please, if you observed that in the past, I would love for you to call me. Is there anybody who can remember back to the, I guess it would have been what, the 1970s? No, into the 80s actually, because he got the electric chair in 1989. Yeah, Holly, I know. I've thought that way as well. Yeah. Right. Let's see. Yeah. It shows how evil life is becoming, defending a killer dark world. Where did all the good, amazing people go? I know, Patty and Pink. Yeah. Right. And the thing is, like, I trust Donna's insight. And there's been a lot of people who are like, I think this is the one that Donna got wrong. No. I think she got it right. Because she described him 11/18, November 18th, before she could have any sort of influence from the media. She never had seen a picture of him. She had only seen
the holographic image that she sees when she does this sort of thing. So there was nothing at all influencing her, the visual that she was getting of him, that he was almost 6 feet tall, wearing a black hoodie, skinny, or I don't know if she exactly said skinny, but that he was tall. But she described the ruthless killing that she said that the rage, the evil within, made Lori Vallow look almost, I don't know, toned down, maybe the word was, which is really hard to imagine, right? Because Lori Vallow is a sick, sick woman. Yeah, I think she got it right. I do. Angel D. I didn't believe in psychic mediums until you showed us Donna's. Yeah, no, she's been right. I mean, look back at Gabby Petito, look back at Lori Vallow, the first of all. Every single one, she's brought something to the table that ended up, being true for sure. Like a lot of convincing things that were true. And this is no different, in my opinion. Yeah. She has a precious gift. Yeah, I agree. She does. Mm-hmm. Donna got exactly right down to him leaving. Right. I know. And I feel like she described how he got out of there, how he entered the home. Now, I still want to know, what did the apple represent? Did the apple maybe represent Washington? Because isn't it Washington apples that's like the iconic, I think it's even on the license plate. Am I right? Maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was imagery or symbolism, for Washington. I never thought of that before. Did you guys make that connection, or is that just random for me? Let's see. Barry Murphy is free, so never say never. Yet if he's freed, he will find no one wants him nor his family near him. Ah, gosh, Barry Murphy. I could go on for days about Barry Murphy. Yeah, that case. But I was saying this recently in my members. By the way, I have a membership, guys. But in my members video the other day, I was talking about the DNA, the extra DNA that they're talking about that was found in the room of where Maddie and Kaylee were found. And I was talking about how in the case of Barry Murphy, when we saw the whole preliminary hearing for him, what ended up being a huge problem was the extra DNA that was found in the car. Do you guys remember that? If you remember that, let me know, because that was a big deal. So what I was kind of circling back to was, if this DNA is not figured out exactly who it was, like exactly, they have got to investigate it thoroughly, then this is going to be a big problem when it comes down to trial, because that's what they're going to do. They're going to deflect. Defense is going to totally deflect and say, well, there was 2 other, sets of DNA in there, but also the glove found outside, there was DNA there. Now, on that note, I need to also tell you, I was thinking about this the other day. You guys remember how before the so-called alleged, killer was ever found, I was going on these disgusting, horrible, websites, like 4chan, and I was seeing really horrible stuff. Well, I'll never forget a post that I came across in that time frame. And it's not to say that it was for sure him, but it's making me think this now. But the gist of the post was something like, a person, all they have to do is leave random people's stuff at a crime scene, and then it'll automatically kind of skew everything. So in other words, you could go to a gas station, you could grab a used piece of, a used tissue, a used toothpick, a used glove, and you plant that at the crime scene. It's going to throw everybody off. I'll never forget that post, because now when I'm hearing about this other DNA, and then I'm hearing about this glove outside with DNA, it's totally bringing me back to that. Like, wow, is that maybe what happened here? It's pretty weird. A glove, but not on the sheath, only his. Yes, Sunflower Soul. Yeah, totally. Mm-hmm. Bryan doesn't have millions to hire a slick attorney. Barry did. Right. But right now, it feels like Bryan's getting sort of a dream team, in my opinion. That's how it seems anyway. And Ann Taylor, I get the same feeling about her as I got from Eaton and Nielsen. I think it was Nielsen, right? Barry's attorneys, remember those Bulldog attorneys that fought for him tooth and nail? They were making a stink out of every little thing. That's what I kind of sense about this Ann Taylor. I think she's going to represent him so well. And I hope the prosecution is ready for that fight, because I don't think it's going to be an easy one. They just have to roll out that evidence. They really do. And I hope that the way that they acquired the evidence is all accountable, right? And was done the right way. That's my hope. Because, man, I would hate to think that 4 wonderful people could miss out on justice, if it was him. It's a sick feeling. Let's see. I can sort of understand the bad boy persona, but not a dang murderer. Yeah. Thing with some of these crazies out there. They're nuts. Yeah, I know. I think it's a little crazy for sure. It really is. Now, is there anybody who wants to call in and chit chat for maybe I could take like a few phone calls, maybe over the next half hour? If you want to, let me open that up for you. Guys, this cellular analysis survey team, the FBI CAS team, I think they're still going to play a really big part in this case, just like they did in the Lori Vallow case. Remember, if you followed the trial, when CAS came out with their pings and stuff, they were able to locate exactly where Chad Daybell and Alex Cox were in that yard bearing JJ and how long Alex stayed there. I don't see it being that much different here. There were a few days where I had some doubt about it just because it's kind of a remote area, Moscow is. I think they're going to, in the end, I think they're going to be able to do it, though. I think they're going to be able to see the important pings and stuff to say, if he was in that home, and especially if he was in that home when the victims were not, like he almost, breaking and entering, that kind of thing. That's going to be a huge deal. Huge. And washed your hands. That's another thing Donna said, is she saw the killer wash his hands. Right? Kelly Fitzgerald. Let's see. Sweetie PieLo, didn't Donna talk to police and have them go back to... Yeah, actually, that was me, Kelly. That was me. After I had known, and this is when I knew maybe just 20% of what she had seen, because I hadn't listened to all her readings or anything. But after I knew that she totally saw those murders, I called up law enforcement. I also sent 2 emails, and I said, hey, she's saying that the shed is where this happened. And then by 1 or 2 o'clock that day, which was probably about 3 or 4 hours later, they were in that barn / shed / outbuilding, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it's a true story. It really happened. This is Lauren.
One for the team.
Hi, thank you for taking one for the team. How are you?
I'm good. I'm in the chat as Sunflower Soul, and I've never called. I've called in before to other channels, but I haven't called in to you. But
I'm so glad you
did.
I
can't just watch people come for you. So
thank you. I'm so glad you did. What are your thoughts right now?
I have so many thoughts, and I love hearing you talk, by the way. Your voice is just absolutely fantastic. So I'll just say that.
Thank you.
But...
Thank you. You're sweet.
I knew from the beginning that this case was... Oh, hello, Soybean. Sorry, I'm not going to read the chat. But
that's okay.
A couple channels. Okay. From the beginning, I said this case was going to set a precedent, and I wasn't really sure how, but I said this is going to change so many things. I had no idea. And it's bananas.
It is.
I I have so much to say. I wish I would have prepared for this.
No, it's okay.
I could go on all night.
It's okay. Just talk to me like you're talking to me. Just let's forget that there's people listening, and you just tell me what you think. We all want to know.
Honestly, I can't believe, because I have not really read very much about like what people are saying in your chat.
Yeah.
I can't believe so many, and I don't want to, because everybody has a right to their opinion. I respect it 100%.
Yeah.
But the way that it's being portrayed, with Ann Taylor and saying things like precious little and lack of, they don't equate to zero.
Right.
And suddenly those phrases are being turned around by certain creators to mean no DNA.
Right.
But that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
My DNA is not on the sheath. I don't know if yours is, but mine isn't on the sheath.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I don't care who else is in that house. We knew a lot of people were there. We knew this was going to happen.
Right.
But they're not saying 2 other pieces of DNA were on the sheath. They're saying around the victims or somewhere. They could be anywhere in the house.
Right.
So the fact that people can hang their hat on that when there's only one person whose DNA is on the sheath.
Right.
I'm just going to focus on that.
I know.
And it's crazy. And looking at Lori Daybell, I mean, her case was primarily circumstantial. I mean,
for sure.
She didn't have anything that really put her there.
Yeah.
And yet we all knew she did it. We all knew she had something to do with it, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Good point.
For some reason, these little statements by Ann Taylor, which in my opinion were used to circumvent the gag order, but that's a whole other story.
True.
People are running with it, and it's like we're ignoring the fact of, okay, we have somebody who's in the area, and you know the FBI pings are going to be far stronger than your average bear's pings.
Absolutely.
We have a guy who was just fired from his job, and his behavior around women, all circumstantial, but still, we're adding up here.
Right. Yeah.
We also have a person who, I don't know about you, but if you came in my house at 1:30 in the morning, I'm not sitting there with gloves on sorting my trash into little baggies.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
You know what I mean? There's guilt, knowledge, and
I know.
There's so much else that people have taken and run with and attacked the victims. And I can't sit aside because I think it's just absolutely disgusting.
I know.
And attack them based on what? Based on, well, some people are creating suspects. Creators are creating suspects, right? But right in front of us, we have this guy that has so circumstantially, and again, innocent until proven guilty, of course.
Yeah.
But my DNA is not on the sheath. Yours isn't on the sheath.
Right.
I am not found sorting and trying to, let's just say, hide my DNA, supposedly, allegedly, by sorting my trash.
Right.
And I can't really understand why this one statement of precious little and lack of, which does not mean none, suddenly people are turning him, God forgive me, but people are turning him into the next, like, Jesus. Like,
oh my God, thank you.
Somebody else.
Thank you for saying that. Yes. Yes. It's crazy.
Who is this guy that we're willing to die on this hill and think that he's sacrificing his life for nobody else that we have a justified, in my opinion, yet at least, a justified reason to believe that anybody else has been there, and to think that we know 1/10 of what the state knows is just bananas.
It's insane. Yes, we know nothing. We know 10%. There is 90 to go.
And people are out there saying 90%. There was actually a channel 90% is in the PCA. Have you gone mad? No, it's not. That is just to get them in the door.
Right.
So I feel some type of way. So nobody was calling, and then I heard you saying that people are going crazy on you. So I'm like, all right, now it's on. So
I'm so glad though that you're talking
about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. What do you think this idol worship is all about, though? That's what I feel like it is. It's idol worship. They've created Kohberger into somebody he never was, which similarly, they did the same thing to Ted Bundy I was reading about. And
they did, and I know. And it's like, at least, like, I hate to say this, but they're not comparable.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know where, not that Ted Bundy, because I don't want to give him any credit. That's not at all what I would ever mean.
Yeah.
But like, who is this loner, this guy who was harassing women, this guy who was kicked out of a bar, this guy who people thought he was kind of fishy. We're going to go back to the pool party incident because, I love me some Donna and I'm very spiritually connected. And the guy did say my wife didn't want him back at the pool party. Right. He's not a Ted Bundy. I don't even know how. Yeah. Well, I could tell you how, but it's probably kind of controversial how I think it started. But
I think I know what you're going to say.
Social media becoming the news.
Thank you.
Opinion.
You're right. That's exactly what's happened. Yes. And one side is being heard, but the other doesn't seem to be heard, actually. This is all
I'm so sorry. Say that. I couldn't hear that.
I said it seems that one side is being heard, but the other side is not being heard.
Yes.
That's how it feels.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. And for some reason, the voices that are louder, this is what I feel. Okay, this is when I get a little crazy. And y'all
no, go ahead.
But I'm
Do
with
it.
Donna.
Do it.
I'm very, very spiritually connected. And I felt from the beginning there was some type of evil that was at work here.
Right.
But it was beyond just the person who did it, person for person. Because at that point, I was staying far away from this because the energy was the way I could feel it was so dark.
Oh, it's like a black cloud
around people.
Yes, it was. It was actually so scary, wasn't it? In that time frame before we had a suspect, it was freaking me out. It was freaking a lot of us women out. Oh my God.
100%. And then all of a sudden he's there. Yeah. And then you have creators making him out to be this amazing person. And I'm reading the documents and I'm thinking, are y'all reading what I'm reading? Because I couldn't really understand why this free Bryan Kohberger thing was going on, because the more I was reading, the more I was like, okay, this is starting to add up. And this was before the sheet. So I think that's why I stayed away for so long, because I was like, oh, this what is being created in social media to me was so dark. And so YouTube became our source of news. And suddenly, we're about to put this guy, God forgive me again, my grandmother would kill me, but we're about to put this guy on a cross. And I don't really understand how we got here. And that's, I think, the dark energy. It's just like we're all ignoring what is right in front of us and what we can read and see.
Right.
For the sake of, I don't know what canonizing this guy before he's even gone. And I don't think, could I put him in front of a firing squad tomorrow? No.
Right.
And
right.
I don't think he's innocent. I just think the information is there. And it started with the PCA, and I'm sorry, but it started with YouTube channels that
for sure
created a monster. And they brought out the evil in him, and I think he's thriving off of it. I mean, if you even look at Ann Taylor's newest, like, oh, I want the records of, the police officers. It's funny because I've heard that on a YouTube channel months ago, like it must be the dirty cops.
Oh, for sure. Attacking the cops. I got you. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you really look back at the people who are running with it, I said this on t-rev's channel, we've got the biggest cover-up in history because you're involving the Moscow police, the Washington
hell yeah,
police, the FBI all over the country. You're involving the universities. This is bigger than JFK.
Thank you.
Come on, guys.
Thank you.
Come on. Step back a second, and it doesn't really make that much sense.
It doesn't.
In my opinion.
It sounds ridiculous too, though. And don't get me wrong. I believe in a lot of, I believe Building 7, like there's something going on there, right? With the whole World Trade Center thing. Believe me.
Totally.
Right. But I can see this is not a freaking conspiracy. There's something to this. Right. Now, do I think that everything's been as clear cut and like straight shooting as possible? No, I don't like the fact that time changed. Remember how they said originally that the murders happened between 3 and 4, and then it became from 4 to 4:25 or 4:20, whatever it is. I don't like that kind of detail. Like that still doesn't feel exactly right, but I still feel there's overwhelming things to say that this guy is probably the guy. That's how I felt.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. And that's why I can definitely understand people saying, I don't understand why the police weren't called. I can't understand the time change. Right. Can I understand a year mistake by the FBI in the car make and model? Yeah, I can get over that. You know what I mean? Right. But absolutely, I can understand people, because it doesn't fully make sense to me. Yeah. And I don't think that that is enough to make me jump to the other side of,
I know.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Let's just canonize this guy because he's going to take one for the entire team, for the cartel. For come on, guys. Like, there's just not enough Kool-Aid. There's not enough cups. I can't do it. Like,
it's a larger than life scandal, right there.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that's a larger than life scandal if that were to be the case. It's just that's too much. It's too big to imagine, in my opinion. It just can't be. It doesn't seem possible at the moment.
It's far too big, and I stayed away from this for a while, especially because the Delphi arrest happened, which is so ironic because that actually is a massive cover-up. But that's a whole other story.
I hear you. Yeah.
That does involve government and different things, but there's just nothing here that, we're grabbing at straws. We want the training records. I had said on one of the channels the other day, I'm waiting for Ann Teller to ask for the cops' high school transcripts. Like, what are we grasping at, guys? Like,
no kidding. Yes.
And she just circumvented the gag order and it worked because people ran with it, and everybody's saying no DNA. That's not true.
Right.
That's not true.
Right.
It's not. There is DNA, and we don't know the full extent of the hairs in the apartment, the dog, the other two DNAs. Of course, there's going to be more DNA there. We knew the party house. Yeah. And just totally. And it started with, I think, the PCA with Detective Payne, where cut me off at any time, by the way, because seriously, I could go on.
No, you're fine. I'm interested in what you're saying. Yeah, go ahead.
It started off with the PCA and YouTube. I'm not naming any names, but y'all are gonna know. Don't come for me. Yeah. A couple of YouTube creators went ham with Detective Payne because he wrote the PCA. Now, keep in mind, if you really read, and I feel like some people are deliberately misreading / leading. Yeah. Don't come for me. Yeah. It said that Detective Payne came in and he was not the first responding officer. We don't have details to what they found because we're not privy to that. There's a gag order. Yeah. So Payne wrote the PCA, and however anybody feels about Payne, please don't come for me. I realize there's a whole following on that. I get it, and I respect it.
For sure.
But anyway, and he wrote what he discovered, that he went in after the first responding officers and they led him, and then he found, and then they go through it. And my first thing, which I couldn't believe that people were running with, and I think this is where it started, because channels had already created this
narrative,
this idea of the police, you know what I mean? Like, oh, Detective Payne has this. I don't know anything about Detective Payne, but anyway. Right. So, he wrote in the PCA and where the sheath was, and then he said it was to the right of Maddie. I'm not, I can't remember exactly how he worded it, but it's pretty much verbatim. But upon looking at it from the doorway, and people ran with that as if he didn't notice it until he was in the doorway.
I know.
And I'm thinking to myself, no.
Semantics.
What
really.
he's saying is he's trying to get, because, if you were standing across from me, your left side is my right side. Mm-hmm. And vice versa. So he did not say he didn't see it. He was leading through where everything was, and he was giving a perspective upon standing from the doorway. It's to the right side or to the left side, whichever one. God forgive me. I don't mean to misquote that part because of Maddie.
Right.
No. For that. But,
and that's okay. I got you.
He was saying it in relation to where he was positioned to outline, if you were standing in the doorway, it would be on this side, because her left side would be our right side from the doorway, and vice versa. And people ran with it saying he missed that. First of all, he wasn't even on the scene. He was just describing what he was led through, and he was just stating positionally what he was looking at. But people ran and said he didn't even notice it until he was in the doorway. How did he see it in the doorway if it was under her body? That's not what it said. I know. That's not at all. He was trying to positionally explain where it was from the doorway, so you knew, in the PCA, which, perspective-wise, we talked about mirror imaging here. So it started there. And so it came out, detectives missed the sheath. And I'm like, he was not even the person who first arrived on the scene. So since then, it's just sickened me the way people have run with it, like this no DNA thing. It's all over. And I'm thinking, that is not what's going on.
Yes, I know. It's like let's wait and see. My gosh, this is just the beginning. This is the beginning, and we're assuming that that's all the case is. That what we've seen is all they have. Are you kidding? They got 2 computers out of him. Then I think if it's possible that he had that whole internal system in his car, like the you know what I'm talking about, like where the maps and stuff, the infotainment type system. They're gonna see everything. My gosh. We're expecting that we have access and that we have permission to see this stuff. We're not privy to that info.
No, how dare we? And I'm sorry, but how dare some of these people go after the victims?
Oh, I know.
And I don't care what they've done. I don't believe any of that. But like to jump so far as to have videos about certain people being involved.
It feels sadistic.
And cartel. It's just it's for clicks, and to me it's disgusting. And we're with all of this that's going on, somebody can sit here and argue, no, it's the cartel, which I'm just like, y'all, they're not gonna go on with knives. I'm from New York. Come on, guys. But it's like we're forgetting, okay, but who's the guy who was just fired from his job, who just had 2 professors that he argued with who were women, who was fired because of how he graded women, and this is documented. There's a lot of rumors that I can't stand by from sources that are unnamed, so I would never do that. But there's so much where he was found, his car pinging at random times of the day. My car wasn't pinging there.
No.
The DNA sheets. There's so much that, like I said, Lori Daybell had. So it was all circumstantial, and everybody was ready to burn her right there. And yet this guy, I can't, because one thing comes out. Nan Taylor says, I want the training records. I want to know if the cops wear boxers or briefs. And suddenly everybody's like, he's innocent. And I'm like, what? She's grasping at straws.
She is. And she's doing what she's supposed to do. Like, come on, people. It doesn't mean the dude's innocent. It just doesn't.
It doesn't equate. And to say that every time she's going to put emotion in, that, in my opinion, circumvents the gag order, because she is creating that and she's getting it out to the media. Like, see, everybody's reporting no DNA. When did that change? It's working. And to me, it's gross, but she's doing her job.
Yeah.
And
no, but it is gross. It is gross, though. I agree with you. It's pretty nasty to watch. Like, I'm getting really irritated. I've thought many times, like, okay, I'm walking away from this case and I ain't coming back. Like, it's really irritating to be on this end.
I've been thinking the same thing, okay? And I'd be lying if I didn't tell you. I've been talking about it like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing this.
I know.
But I keep feeling like this dark energy has been created, and the power of media and the power of victim shaming and using our own personal agendas for the sake of, at the sake of the victims. In any case, like Steve Gonzalez said, all Kaylee would want is for people to remember their names. Why are we only remembering his name now? And then I can't walk away.
True.
I can't.
No, you're so right, though. You're so right.
He represents the darkness, and the outrage, the YouTube channels that have come from this, they're the darkness. And if we walk away, he is the only name that's getting remembered.
Gosh,
and that
you're
is
so right.
tragic, in my opinion.
Thank you for saying that. You are so right. Because let me tell you, it doesn't pay to be on the prosecution side of this case right now. The people who are making money right now on YouTube are any of the people that are going pro Kohberger. You see their views. You see what's happening. You see the super chats. Guys, it does not pay to be on the side I'm on. I promise you that. It seems like there's a lot fewer of us.
The attacks are ruthless.
Yes, they are.
But you know what? And not to get spiritual, but I'm gonna get it, okay?
Yeah.
And with Donna, that's the darkness. And when you're spiritually connected, and once you are, and you see that it's so real, it's like the darkness is so strong right now. It's like those are the moments at the light. We have to keep talking, and not to discredit anybody, because a fully innocent until proven guilty. Could I put him before a firing squad tomorrow? Heck to the no. I need to know it all, and I respect that. But I'm not going to abide by for my moral code, the innocent until proven guilty, when the darkness is taken over and these beautiful lights, their names are getting lost.
Oh my
And
gosh. Killer point. You are so right. Amen to that. Yes. 100%.
So I had to take one for the team and call because you know what? When you said people were coming for you, I was like, see, that's the darkness again, and it's not going to happen. We can't.
There is so
And
much
you know,
darkness. Yes. so
however
much.
it goes, it goes. But at the same time, either way, not however it goes. I don't say it flippantly. I'm sorry.
No,
He's
you're okay.
innocent until proven guilty, and I do want a good trial. But at the same time, this case really, and I didn't know what about it made me feel that way, like an
Right.
intuition
Yes.
that it was going to show such an ugly side. And
Oh,
we're
it's
here.
horrible.
So whichever way this goes, the light has to keep speaking for these victims, no matter what, because he is not the one that matters. And it's not that his life doesn't matter. He's a human being, and he deserves all of the fair, the trial.
Yeah.
He deserves all of that, and not at the cost of these victims
That
and
is
their
so
light
true.
and their names being said. Because God forbid one day we get to a place where he's the next Ted Bundy, and we don't even remember their names. And
yeah.
we can't let that happen.
Excellent points. You made so many excellent points tonight. Thank you. And it's Sunflower, right? Is that right?
Yeah, I'm in there as Sunflower, so my name's Courtney, though.
Okay,
I started to say on channels that I was Kim just because I was making fun of that whole woman calling in. Don't come for me.
Okay.
But no, I just appreciate it. I'm so sorry that I chewed your ear off.
No,
but,
you didn't. I wanted to hear from you. I really did. I want to hear from everybody who has a sound opinion that's seeing this from both sides, and understanding it.
Yeah.
And there's another good point you made. You said, could I put him in front of a firing squad? I think you said right now. And you make a fantastic point. No, we could not, because we haven't heard everything. So guys, please understand, we are trying to be fair in this, but we're also very aware of the evidence that we do know. And that's what's making us feel like there's more to the story. But no, we wouldn't put him in front of it.
There's more.
Yeah.
There's more. And I agree. And anybody who feels that way, that I respect everybody's opinion. I guess I can't jump the gun. And this guy deserves a fair trial. As much as I don't like the straws Ann Taylor's pulling out, she's doing her job, and good.
Yeah. Yes.
Because
less
you
appeals.
Can't put somebody's life on the line. It's not a joke.
True.
So I can see both sides. I guess I'm just at a point where it's like, the coincidence theorists, there's a lot of coincidences, and they're adding up, and I don't want to lose the voice. I still want him to have his fair trial.
So do
absolutely. And however it goes, it's going to go the way it's meant to go. Whether more stuff comes out and he, maybe he's completely framed. Okay, then great. He goes home. We find out. Where did the 8 hours go? I don't even know. I'm wondering just as much as the next guy.
Oh, for sure.
There's a lot of things I'm confused. The time change.
Me too.
But at the end of the day, their names, they matter.
They do.
I think YouTube has shown a darkness.
Yeah.
That shows that the light needs to be there more. They need a voice too.
Amen. Yeah. At the beginning of this, we were all on the same side, and now this is broken out into total division, just like politics, just like, oh, I'm Republican, oh, I'm Democrat. It's the same crap again, guys. Why do we always fall into groups? It's this tribalism. Like, we don't need to be like that. Why can't we just be in favor of the victims? Period.
However it's going to go. Let's advocate for the victims and really look at the evidence and read things for what they are. And if they do say that the DNA was garbage on the sheath, then they haven't. But I'm saying then it's garbage on the sheath. Yeah. It goes both ways. But we have to really look at it for what's right in front of us.
Amen.
And instead of trying to prove who's right or who's wrong, it's what is just.
Yes, what is just. Amen to that. Thank you so much, Sunflower, or Courtney, whichever one you want me to call you.
Yeah, you can call me whichever. Thank you so much for listening to my rant. I'm from New York. I apologize.
No, I loved it. And I appreciate you calling. I know it's probably so late. It must be, 2 in the morning or something?
I actually moved to Colorado.
Okay. So you're like an hour or 2 ahead. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Makes sense. Well, thank you so much. And I hope you sleep good tonight. Take care.
Thank you. And hello. Hi.
Hi. How are you?
I'm listening, third time caller.
Thank you for calling. What time is it? You're in Australia, I take it, right?
I'm in Australia, yes. It's Sunday here, almost 5 p.m.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Yes. Wow. Okay. So That's
Yeah.
very interesting. It's so dinner time? Almost dinner time?
It's almost dinner time, yes. We're prepping for dinner.
Wow.
And I thought I might give you a call
Okay.
just to firstly let you know how far this case has traveled.
Yes.
And how important it is all across the world, not just in the United States. It means a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I know you've been doing some work around Reddit, and you've been asking people for tips and advice about the inside looking account.
Yes.
And I saw a comment in your chat that mentioned the Rocket Surgeon 22 account. And I wonder if you've looked into that one.
I have not. No, I have not. Have you looked into them or no?
Yes.
Okay.
I have. And I think you will be absolutely blown away.
Really?
By what you'll find. Yes, absolutely. And I would put my house on the line to say that that account most definitely belonged to Bryan Kohberger.
No way.
Yes way.
Wow.
And look, I'm not an avid Reddit user, so it was kind of hard for me to even find the post because the account was suspended on the day of the arrest.
Oh my gosh. So on December 30th.
By Reddit. So it wasn't just that it was taken down by the user, it was actually suspended. So when you actually search for it, Reddit tells you it's been suspended, which I thought was very interesting and kind of tells me some other things. But yes, it was what he was saying during the period after the murders and before his arrest. And there were some crazy things. And I've been able to find the post like by doing Google searches. So not just searching for his username in Reddit, but just searching that username in Google and then going on various links to various threads.
Okay. Yep.
So I'm not really great at, Reddit, but that was the only way I was able to actually pull the comments that were linked to that username.
Yeah.
And it was things like, that LE should really involve criminology students in the local area to help with the case, which I thought that was really, really
interesting.
Odd. There were comments about, how hard it would be for the prosecution if there was no motive. And that the jury would be less inclined to convict, and that evidence would be weighed differently and would have different meaning if there was no motive to be found. And that there would have to be a lot of evidence to then, secure a conviction. It was just some really odd comments. And then for that account to just be suspended on that exact day.
Right. That's
was
so
really
weird.
Strange as well.
That is so weird.
Yeah, so I thought that might be a great one for you to look into when you have some time. Like, I can't think of all the comments right now. I'm not doing what I found any justice, really.
No, that's okay.
But, but I think you would really find it interesting.
Yeah. Would you tell me exactly what it is? You said it was like rocket something. What could you say it again?
Yes. So one word, rocket surgeon, capital R, capital S for surgeon, and then the numbers 22.
22. Oh, interesting. Okay. That is something. All right. I put it in so I don't forget about it. I'm going to look into that. I'm really glad you called.
Do. And share what you find, because I'm sure you'll be able to dig in a lot deeper than I was able to. But it is really interesting. And the fact that it was suspended
for
on
sure.
The day of the arrest, that tells me not only, it's pointing to it being him, but that law enforcement was following.
Yes.
And could it be that, he came up through social media? Is that how he got on the radar in the first place?
That's a great question.
Like, they were aware so much so that they suspended his account on the day he was arrested. So,
oh man,
I don't know.
It's going to be so interesting what comes out in court, especially if they can trace these Reddit accounts back to him. Can you imagine?
Yes. He was so active on Delphi threads, on the Chris Watts threads, on other serial killer threads. Even during the period after the murders and before the arrest, he was still posting on those different threads, and also posting on all the Idaho threads as well. So like, it was just really crazy.
That is.
You know, and like, he had lots of really strong opinions about, like, you know, which serial killers were the most intelligent and why. And it was just,
that sounds like, hey, that sounds
so
like something
weird.
he would say too, doesn't it?
Pardon?
I said that sounds like a question he would ask. If you look at his survey that he did on Reddit, he asked questions kind of phrased similarly. You know what I mean? So that seems eerily similar. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It does.
So yes, I thought I'd leave that little nugget with you and wait for you to sort of tell us what you find. I'd be very interested to know your opinion. This account goes back 5 years. So it gives you a much better insight into the person. Like, it wasn't just created for that period. It seemed like he'd been using it for a period of 5 years, which is also very interesting.
Very interesting. Now, I want to ask you a question. How do you feel he came across the victims? Assuming it's Bryan Kohberger, how do you think he came across the victims? What do you feel?
I don't know. I think my inkling is that it was like an obsessive thing.
Yes.
You know, that he perhaps did meet one of them at, you know, the Mad Greek, or he met through a friend, you know, and then just that obsession began. And he probably was able to stalk them online through social media, just like we're doing now with him, you know, going through everything, finding everything we can about him. He might have done the same to a couple of these girls. I think in one of his posts, he even suggests that the perp was after Kaylee and Maddie, and killed Ethan and Xana because they were in the way. You know, like, that wasn't meant to happen. So who knows? I mean, it could be like a red herring that he's planted there, but I mean, that makes sense to me also.
Right. You know, sometimes I think, is it possible that maybe he first came across them on Instagram, and then he moved to that area to be closer to them, and they had no clue. They didn't know he even existed. And then he kind of set his sights on them, and then their paths would cross organically. You know what I mean? It's just they thought it was organically, but it was really intentional on his behalf. I've thought of that many times, because I can just imagine him fixated on them, watching them online, lurking, paying attention to their geotags and what location they're going next. Shoot, he could have even been at that bar that night for all we know, because we haven't heard what he was doing before he left his home at 2:44, whatever time it was. I think it was 2:44. You know what I mean?
That's right.
We
have no idea what happened before then, what his day was like.
Yes.
You know, there was a football game or something on that day. Like, we had no idea what activities he had throughout the day. And that would all, and I think that's important. And maybe it was left out on purpose, because it might just paint a picture of like a build-up. Maybe they did see him at the corner club, and maybe something did happen there. Maybe there was like an altercation, or, you know, a hostile conversation.
Right.
Who knows?
Right. That's going to be really something to find out too. And then if they can't find any connection whatsoever to him, you know, again, it could go back to kind of how Ted Bundy did it. There's been other serial killers that have also, where they didn't know their victims. They just decided one day to do that. So this can go either way. But my feeling is that he had his sights set on him in one shape or in one, what is it? Whatever that, I can't think of it, but shape, form, whatever, way, shape, or form.
Yes.
So.
Yes, absolutely. I think he knew exactly who he wanted and what he was doing, and he was prepared.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right on. Wow. Great insight you brought. Thank you so much for calling, and have a great dinner.
And please let us know once you've looked into that user ID. I'm so curious to know what you find and what you think.
Okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to check it out probably tomorrow. You know, kind of dig some stuff up. Thank you.
And keep going. You're doing so well, and it's so nice to be able to follow creators who are being really sensible with the information that's available and not just, on that crazy train.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Seriously. Yeah. Have a good rest of your night. Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Oh, man, I got blessed with some fantastic callers tonight. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And Chihuahua Dawson, thank you so much for the super sticker. That's so sweet of you. Thank you. Guys, I really appreciate you being here to sort of listen to me vent. I'm sure on the replay I'm going to get lots of hell for all this, but these are my feelings. These are my thoughts. We should be allowed to feel the way we feel as much as they are. And I hate to say they, but the people that are like very pro Kohberger at the moment, it just feels like right now you're not allowed to have an opinion if it's an opinion that assumes he might be the guilty party. And I don't like that. Why can't we have an opinion too? You know what I mean? So that's why I needed to come on. I needed to talk about the hair and just vent about it a little bit. And I appreciate everybody listening to me tonight. So with that, I say, until next time, I will be back soon. And I think I'm going to try to start going more full time, probably in mid-August, guys. So yeah, I think I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to set things up so I can actually do like a live show, hopefully at least a few times a week. That's my hope. But anyway, talk to you guys soon. Lots of love to you and yours. Bye. Lots of love to you. Bye.